What's poppin', players? Welcome back to the Two Penny Game Club, your monthly video game book club in which the three of us play a game in the background and we come to you at the beginning of each month to review and then rank it amongst the other games we've played in the game club. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friends and co-host. Say hello to the people, Connor, Elliott.
It's good to be back after our last show that we just did, called the Two Penny Games cast.
Oh, okay, got you. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, you would understand why I was so confused if you were watching live, twitch.tv/TwoPennyGames every Monday afternoon, in which we record all of our podcasts, but we haven't recorded this week's Gamescast. A little behind-the-scenes action here. We haven't recorded this week's Gamescast because we still have to record with our good buddy and fellow co-host. Say hello to the people, Phil Shoemaker.
Hello.
Phil! Very excited to have you here. Connor, I'm going to start with you, and I'm going to start with that right there. You know what I'm saying? Because you, my friend, have started a tradition. We quietly kind of did it last month. Kind of quietly. Cheers to you as well, Philip.
Phil.
Excellent.
Oh,
Excellent.
boy.
Excellent. Kind of quietly did it last month, maybe even the month before, but you started this idea. We're a couple of guys, a couple of buddies, a couple of friends, a couple of gamers.
That's what I thought he was going to say.
Did you say gays?
It sounded like you were saying at the beginning. A couple of gays?
I was gonna go gamers and then just cut myself off on the wrong syllable there. A couple of gamers playing some video games, having a good time. So you were like, Tavin, you should be popping over some brewskis and some drinky drinks so that we can, chill and have a good time and have a little more casual thing, which is weird because we don't really treat this show any more or less casual than our normal reviews. But it's a fun time. It's a fun time. So here we are. Your friends brought over a case of Yingling Ambers, so we're drinking some Yinglings. Great time.
I'm jealous.
Phil,
very good beer.
what are you drinking?
Me?
Indeed, yes.
This is a TX whiskey with Dr. Pepper cream soda.
I like it.
Hey,
I like it. Sounds good.
you know what would be even better
It's been
than
a while
that?
since I've had a Yingling. That tasted different than I thought it was going to.
A nice whiskey with Mexican Coke.
Sure.
I have Coke Zero.
It's not.
Same thing.
No, it's
Same
not.
thing.
No, it's
Exact same
not.
thing. There you
No,
go.
it's not.
Ladies and gentlemen, this month we are reviewing for your pleasure Dead Cells. Of course,
They're dead.
Of course, click the link in the description down below for the playlist for the full show so you can see other games we reviewed and ranked. Those do include games such as Metal Gear Solid, like we did last month, Fable 1, Final Fantasy 7, Chrono Trigger, God of War Ragnarok, Last of Us 1. The list goes on, exactly goes on and on 24 times. This is episode 25, apparently. We learned that.
Wait.
But-
So that means that. Oh wait, that means we hit the 2-year anniversary.
Yes and no, because there were a couple of episodes that we did them early, so I don't know what the actual timing is. But there were also episodes that we did late because they took so long to play.
Yeah. Okay.
So tricky. Timing is tricky, but it is what it is. Anyways, gentlemen, Dead Cells was released on August 7th, 2018 for Windows, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and Nintendo Switch. It currently has a Metacritic of 89, and in the first 3 years of it being on the market, it sold 5 million copies. But, excuse me, Lord alive, that brewski, Connor, is your fault.
It was. I'll take it.
But 2 years, if you add 2 more years, it doubles its sales to 10 million copies as of 2023. I don't know why. Couldn't tell you why. But that's what happened. My dog is
He's watching a fly.
He's watching a fly?
Yeah.
All right. That's fine. There we go. If
I
my
don't know
dog
why
gets
she
crazy,
followed a fly.
that's what it is. And so, gentlemen, we've all played Dead Cells. We've played an extensive amount of Dead Cells. We've all completed a run, at least, and then some more probably after that, just kind of playing around, experimenting a little bit more. We all played on different platforms. I played on the Nintendo Switch. Connor.
PC.
Phil.
PlayStation 5.
PlayStation 5. Very
Our
good.
experiences were so different.
You know what? Actually, they might have been a little bit different than you might expect. Because, ladies and gentlemen, Dead Cells is what I would call a good game. It's a good game. It might even be a really good game. But it's not a great game, actually. When putting an objective lens on it and really breaking it down and playing it over the last month, I couldn't help but feel that Dead Cells, in my memory, was a greater game than what I experienced in reality. Now, again, don't get me wrong. This is a good game. I like it, and I fully recommend playing it. However, no, let me start with the positive. Dead Cells, of course, is a 2D Metroidvania game, or Metroidvania slash roguelike game, in which you're playing as sort of like this beheaded creature guy, and you're running around killing things, fighting bosses, and exploring dungeons. And it made a big splash in 2018. I remember for being one, a really good roguelike slash Metroidvania crossover, and it was praised for that. And I remember it being praised, and I remember it being back in 2018, very challenging to play. Didn't feel that so much this time around. Did not feel like the game was super challenging, which is strange that I felt that way. Its combat loop is fun. Its general gameplay loop is fun and engaging, and I think it's good. But I also think it's quite basic. It kind of feels like you just turn it into just mash one or two buttons and then roll every once in a while. Other than that, I don't feel like I'm memorizing attack patterns. I don't feel like I'm learning enemy behavior. I kind of just feel like, oh, there's an attack coming. Let me roll to get out of the way. I think the dodge window is too wide, so it makes it really easy to dodge literally everything. And the weapons can quickly become overpowered depending on how you're playing out your different percentages in your run and different upgrades in your run and so forth. I think where the game shines the most is its wide variety of weapons and its wide variety of enemies. I think that's where the game shines the most. It's always fun to come across something new. It's always fun to experiment with a new weapon. It's always fun to play out a new play style. But I don't feel like the game is rewarding enough when you do experiment with your play style to justify running away from a play style you've already established that you like. For example, my playthrough consisted mostly of red weapons, which are normally like swords and melee weapons, whether they're heavy, light, this, that, and the third. Purple are usually ranged weapons like bows and arrows and guns and so forth, or a deck of playing cards. And then green is usually shields of some kind or different experiments of that. I spent the majority of my playthrough just using red weapons and the different variety of melee weapons that they have. And I just felt like that was so overpowering that even though it was fun to play with the other weapons and it was rewarding and I would be like, oh, this is actually a very good play style and feels just as good as the red stuff, I just kept finding myself gravitating to the red stuff that I recognized.
It's red is like the severity, purple is the tactical, and then green is like survival or something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah, just the brutality.
Brutality is the red one.
Brutality, that's what it is.
I feel like it's like fun to explore the levels, but like not enough to like care about seeing everything within the level. And the chase to unlocking new upgrades and weapons is a little too long. I don't think they're dishing out rewards fast enough for me to look. It doesn't feel like I'm chasing that thing over the horizon. It feels like, God damn, that thing is so far away. All right, I'll just keep throwing points at it until I get it, I guess, like type thing. Like it feels like a chore to unlock some of these different weapons and upgrades and so forth. And at a certain point, you get some of your base upgrades, mainly like the number of health flasks you feel like you need. You get that really quickly, and then you don't feel like upgrading any further past what you need. I got 2 or 3 health flasks, and I was like, that's enough. I'm good. I don't need to do any more. I never unlocked a good starting shield at the beginning because, again, I never felt the need to jump to shields as opposed to getting my favorite melee weapons. And again, the wide variety of weapons in this game are really cool. It's really creative. It's really fun every time I picked up a new weapon. But I gotta pick up a new weapon first. And when they give me a weapon I know and I'm familiar with and I know how to operate, I found myself just continuously gravitating to the thing I already knew. I don't know why. There's something about this game in its design to where experimenting with play style isn't rewarding enough or isn't interesting enough to make me want to do it. Even though that's the best part of the game is when you do experiment and you do play around with different weapons and so forth. I found the bosses, back in 2018, were very difficult and very challenging. I remember never beating this game or never finishing a run in this game. But this time, The hardest part is the beginning levels to me. Once you get deep into it, you're now too strong, and I never lost to a boss fight. Not once did I lose to a boss fight. I would only die within the levels. So not really a critique, just something that I experienced this time around. I wish they were harder. I wish the boss fights were bigger checkpoints, were bigger gates of progression that I felt like I was overcoming them better. Other than that, I think the art style is fine. This weird 2.5 thing that they got going on, I don't think is particularly attractive. But it's definitely executed on at a high level. And I think the little like tongue-in-cheek dark humor of the game is enjoyable as well. But I also found myself, as soon as I finished my big run of the game for the first time, I didn't feel the need to keep going. There is more. There is a carrot at the end of the stick to keep playing and keep doing it. Didn't feel that need outside of like a game that we've also played, Hades, where you do feel the need to keep going. You do want to keep uncovering new lines of dialogue, and there is a narrative hook to that works way better here than it does here, at least. There's not a real super crazy narrative to speak of, and what is there isn't interesting enough to pursue it going forward. Connor, am I crazy?
No. I think certain elements that you touched on are not as to be criticized as you did. But this is a game where if I was explaining the concept of a roguelike, and I was asked, what roguelike should I play? This will be a game I'd go to. Not necessarily because it's the best roguelike. This one is a
roguelike.
Yes.
No, this one's a roguelite.
Is it?
Yes, because roguelites are, I believe, I have this right, Phil? Roguelites are games where you make progress from run to run. You keep upgrades of some kind. Where roguelikes, you keep nothing.
Oh, really?
I believe that is the distinction. I might have those backwards, but I believe
I think you have it backwards.
Do I have it backwards? I might have it backwards.
So roguelike would be...
it might be a roguelike then. I don't know. So Phil, do the Google while he reviews.
Yeah, I'll say roguelike, because that seems like it's what it is in my mind. But it's very cookie cutter. And I find that genre of games very rarely miss. And this is an example of that. It's fun from beginning to end. But as you said, I didn't feel the need to jump back into another run afterwards. And I played it just before coming on the show. I had not played it in about 2 weeks, maybe a little over 2 weeks. And I jumped in, and I just wasn't feeling the love as I did when I first played the game before I beat it. Because, with these roguelikes, they're usually easy to jump into and have a pretty big blast with in a short amount of time. But this one, I wasn't getting some weapons that I particularly enjoyed, and they were the first time I used them, such as the crowbar, which is a reference to Half-Life. I found it to be, not really interesting to fight with. Its special ability of, doing extra damage to beasts or allowing you to do criticals after doing damage to beasts. Certainly criticals after breaking doors, which the weapons do have these fun elements where they have some sort of condition, like you'll do critical hits if you're facing the enemy. The third hit...
randomly generated, what do they call them?
Attributes?
Attributes? Randomly generated attributes.
Yeah, and they're fun ones, and they can really make a weapon during one of your runs. But if you find one that you're not really feeling all that well, it's not like Hades where it's a small, cultivated group of weapons. You'll just kind of, expect that run to be kind of, not your favorite, one you want to get through as quick as possible because you don't like the weapon. And I feel like sometimes its runs will kind of acknowledge, oh, you want to stay on this weapon and not really give you any other options, which I understand why they did that, so you're not constantly switching things out. You just have your dedicated play set. But I kind of wished it would go beyond having, just different level upgraded frying pans for me to use.
I have an answer to Tavin's question for the roguelike versus roguelite. So me and Connor are actually incorrect. Tavin, you had it correct.
Okay.
It says this is just for a little blurb talking about roguelites. Roguelite games usually feature permadeath and procedurally generated worlds. But while in traditional roguelike games, death meant starting over, roguelites are where it serves a certain purpose. If you die, you get to keep some abilities or resources, meaning that during the next playthroughs you can get farther and farther, eventually reaching the end goal.
That's also
in
interesting that
roguelikes, death puts a stop to your run, and roguelites, it helps you achieve more.
Okay, I see.
But that's also interesting that they added randomly generated for the roguelite.
Yeah.
I guess roguelikes, they're going to keep the level the same so that you can learn it and feel like it's based off more of play skill versus random.
Roguelikes are also procedurally generated.
Oh, never mind.
They were saying that roguelike games usually feature permadeath and procedurally generated worlds, just like roguelikes.
Oh, okay.
So basically what you're saying...
While traditional roguelike games, death meant starting over.
So basically what you're saying is there's so little of a difference between the two that there's not really a reason to distinguish
It's a pretty
them.
big difference. It's a pretty big difference.
I think that's kind of
It's a pretty big difference.
Between like those are different games.
A roguelike, you're literally just starting from ground zero every time you die.
Listen, I think that's more of a valid difference than a Souls-like and a Souls-lite.
Soulsborne.
Yeah,
Or
I mean,
Soulsborne, whatever they're called.
Those just two things seem to have the consistent problem of like, well, it's like made up by people who say, well, actually.
No, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. I would never
Absolutely
stop
agree,
somebody
yeah.
mid-sentence,
Yeah.
even though I did stop you mid-sentence.
But we didn't know.
It's for a reason, like, because we're talking on the internet that I stopped you. But, like, in real life, I wouldn't fucking stop you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, continue.
That type of game, either way, you can jump into it and get the gist of it.
Yeah.
My original point still pretty much stands. The world itself is pretty bland. You know, these roguelike games like Metroidvania, roguelike, lights, like The Messenger, which I'm a very big fan of. It, in combination with its writing, the world it drops you in is inherently interesting. And as you said before, it gives you something to kind of chew on as you're going through these levels, which, based on the kind of game it is, you're doing just the same thing over and over and over again in a fun way. But this one it was kind of, didn't have a strong identity for the kind of game that it was, and I feel like that makes, comparative to other roguelike lights, very, inferior. But the game is good. You know, the wide breadth of playstyles really saves it from being just kind of a generic feeling game, but the other elements, they don't really do enough to elevate Dead Cells in the genre that it exists in.
Yeah, I mostly agree with you. But Phil, how do you feel about Dead Cells?
Real quick, I didn't realize The Messenger was a roguelite.
It's not. It's a Metroidvania, and that's also a spoiler for the game. It's advertised as a Ninja Gaiden-esque game. So thanks for spoiling all of that. But the Messenger is a Metroidvania. You need to play more Metroidvanias so that you can have better examples.
Sounds so, because I guess I like Metroidvanias more than regular platformers.
Yeah, you would like Metroidvania, because Metroidvanias also usually have weapons in them, and you're so combat focused that you would just enjoy them more.
That's another thing, by the way.
You should play Metroid Dread, dude.
No, I should. Another side point before you go into yours. That just seems like another instance of like Metroidvanias, platformers. Are they pretty much the same thing?
No.
How so?
There's a wide difference. You're just equivalating or making equivalent because they're both traditionally 2D. And that's not what it is at all. Metroidvanias can, but don't always have platforming challenges in them. Whereas a platformer is specifically based around creating platforming challenges.
I see.
A Metroidvania is more based around exploration. Firstly, exploration and combat. Usually has combat. Doesn't always have combat, but usually has combat.
And that's not the same thing as a...
And also will have boss fights.
Yeah, never mind. That's not the same thing as a roguelike.
And plenty of backtracking and like re-exploring areas that you couldn't get to before.
Yeah, I see now.
Yeah. Both of these games have elements that they share, speaking specifically in the 2D space, but there's enough difference between them to fully justify the difference of genre here.
Yeah.
Phil, where you at?
Yeah, I really enjoyed my time with Dead Cells. Mostly, I was so I did complete my run, and I did a couple of them actually. But after I beat the main boss twice, I was more focused on like trying to figure out exactly what weapons were my favorite, and like what, because there's so many different weapon types in this game. Like you already kind of talked about it a little bit, Tavin.
Yeah.
And just the sheer amount of references to other IP if you have all the different expansions, which I did because I downloaded this game and started playing it for the second time back when the Castlevania DLC came out. I think that was 2 years ago or last year.
Last year.
I think it was 2 years
Excuse
ago.
me, because we did it for or you recruited it for fantasy.
Oh shit! Yeah, it was last year. Okay. But just to name some stuff, I did pull up a little like thing of them talking about. There's the pure nail from Hollow Knight. It's like one of the swords you can get.
Is that where that's from?
Oh, that makes sense.
Oh, okay.
There's
Didn't
the blasphemy. Go ahead.
What's that?
What?
The pure nail.
I was
Didn't
gonna
care
say-
for it. Continue.
Yeah, the pure nail. There's the blasphemous face flask and penitent outfit you can get from the blasphemous series. There's
That's what
the hard light gun and sword from the Hyper Light Drifter.
Yeah,
That one's cool.
Those are cool.
There's the Pollo Power and Luchador outfit from Guacamelee.
That's where that's from.
Oh, that's
Okay.
cool.
There is the Bone and Little Bone outfit from Skull the Hero Slayer.
Is everything reference?
A lot of them are. A lot of
More
them.
than I thought.
Some of them
There's
are
bone?
basic things like balance blade, bleed blade,
Yeah.
blood blade. Excuse me. Yeah, those are, as far as I know, not references.
There's
to
the
anything.
Machete and Pistol and Explorer's outfit from Curse of the Dead Gods.
Interesting.
I
not
also
familiar.
got what this isn't on the list here, but of course there are weapons from the the Castlevania series. There's Simon's Whip. You can get that. That's pretty fucking cool. There's the cross thing that you can like throw and
The little boomerang
and it'll come
cross,
back to
yeah.
you, the boomerang. Yeah. There is the holy water you can throw and like make a pillar of fire go on people. And yeah, it's just super cool. And I had a blast. Oh, there's also from Shovel Knight. There's the King Knight Scepter, which I liked a lot. It basically you can hit somebody with it, and then you do a little twirl and land on one of your enemies, and it does extra damage. It's super cool. I use that one a ton. I use that one.
Yeah.
I use the light sword and pistol from Hyper Light Drifter,
That one was cool.
and the pure nail. Those are like the three that I use the most.
The scepter I
Um,
just used, like before I came on here.
It's super cool, right?
It's cool, yeah. I
Yeah.
combined it because that's one of the things that the game does good is you have also those mutations that
Oh yeah.
you know
kind of play into it. I found myself using the same 2 or 3. Again, like I just didn't feel the need to experiment with those.
Yeah, and also there was the ones you paid the visit to the doctor. I can't remember what those upgrades are called. The permanent ones. Well, they go through the entire playthrough. What the fuck are they called?
You talking that first upgrade guy?
Yeah, he doesn't always appear. He's occasional.
Oh,
is
yeah,
he?
he's talking about something slightly different.
Yeah.
Tavin. It's not usually in the first. Excuse me, not usually in the first stop. It's usually like in one of the secondary or like after one of the first bosses.
Oh,
It's
They'll
in the
show up.
It's in the beginning area.
Oh, he's
When
talking
you-
about that thing before you grab your weapon, you go down.
Yeah.
Oh,
doctor-
Okay, I know
what are they called
exactly what you're
again?
talking about now. I thought when you said doctor, it threw me off. I thought you were talking about like the blacksmith
Can
guy.
you just buy
No, no.
mutations from that guy? Am I wrong?
No.
No, you got like a special upgrade for the rest of that game.
Okay.
It would lock you out of some other boss rewards or some other thing. I
know
don't
it would
knew.
be, but that was only valid for the run. That wasn't a permanent upgrade.
No, I messed up with the permanent. thing.
Okay,
it was,
okay,
yeah,
okay,
it was
gotcha,
just for the run.
I also just want to mention I did some exploring into the accessibility features, which is something that we haven't really brought up a lot on these reviews.
A lot of our games are old.
Yeah. But I thought it was really cool the level of like things you can change in the accessibility features. Like you can make it to where you basically one hit everything and nothing can hurt you.
Oh.
Just if you want to explore and learn everything. I did switch to that just because I wanted to see how many weapons I could like find, how many different stuff I could things I could find. And just because I wanted to like clear everything out and see exactly how big everything was. A lot of these levels are fucking big.
They're big.
Like it's insane how many layers and different levels there are to each level. And like we said earlier, they're procedurally generated.
Yeah.
So everything's going to be slightly different every time you go through. And
But I also like that you are rewarded for that via the like optional rewards, either by getting through a level really fast or getting through a level killing a lot of enemies. Usually you can't. At least I never did do both at the same time. I never did that. And that's rewarded
Well,
by
it's
either like
not just
obviously if you
killing- it's
explore
not
a lot,
killing
you're going to kill more
enemies,
weapons.
Tavin. It's killing a lot of enemies without getting hit.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was just killing a lot of enemies. Oh, okay. Man, I'm really good at this game.
Because you got to get that tally. That I think it's like next to like a little skull. There's a little tally that goes up every time you kill an enemy without getting hurt.
I actually don't know where in the UI this is.
Down in the corner,
Bottom right.
Oh,
Bottom right.
okay. Okay. But yeah, obviously, like, you're going to kill a lot of enemies by exploring a lot, or you just rush to the next level as fast as you can. And it's pretty, you figure out kind of the vibe to kind of get there as fast as you can. Yeah.
Yeah, I really had a really good time with this game. Like Tavin said, it's not the best game ever. I found that I kind of wish that you know how in Hades, because like it's really hard to compare things to Hades because it's such a masterclass in these types of games.
Hades is clearly the best of them.
Mm-hmm.
But like I wish that after you beat one of the bosses, it was slightly different the next time. You know, specifically that first boss, it's literally the same fight every single time.
Yeah.
Not very. I think the most varied one was the final boss at the end, where he kind of changes the platforms on you, and he like has that really long stick.
For the sake of the podcast, stop.
I killed it. I got it.
But yeah, I thought it was really cool. Like I said, that's really my only issue with it, and like I said, it's also unfair to compare that to Hades, which came out a year afterward. But just it ruined all other roguelites for me.
Yeah, and then to get a little bit more nitpicky, I think the combat of this game is good. It's not great. It does I kind of spoke on it already, where it does kind of like you kind of just get into a zen state, which I do appreciate. I like a good zen state game, where you're just like kind of throwing out the same attack again and again. I rarely feel myself using my secondary weapon outside of like a freeze blast. I'll use a freeze blast a lot, but if I pick up usually a sword and a bow and arrow, I almost never use the bow and arrow. I find ranged weapons in this game kind of useless because the rooms that you enter are too small to justify needing a ranged weapon. Like, you can close the distance and move around too quickly to where, like, why would I ever take the time to shoot arrows? And also, shooting arrows usually takes longer than just running up and slicing them up. So normally I just run up and slice them up.
Even when I got a like extremely good bow, I quickly was like, I'd rather use something else.
I would rather use my starter weapon because it's probably better and faster, and it's just more engaging to begin with. You know, on top of that, there's a lot of things happening on screen at once. There's a lot of little giblets and doodads and rewards and you know, you're picking up cells and you're picking up money and you're picking up jewels and you're picking up power-ups and all of these things. And there's just too much on screen at one time to where, like, if you're really booking it, really moving fast, you can kind of lose track of the action and what's actually happening moment to moment. And it's not like the game punishes you for losing track of the action. It's just kind of, again, you enter the zen state and just start going, which, again, not really a bad thing, but it does kind of, it takes away from the detail in the combat system. I don't feel like the combat system is very detailed. And I very often feel like there are times where I just don't know what's happening on screen. This did lead occasionally to me dying and not learning why I died. I didn't learn anything from it.
I was just going to say that's really where I ended up dying the most, is where like there was just so much going on screen where I couldn't keep track. Like I think I was fighting a bunch of normal enemies, and then also ran into one of those like weird mutated enemies at the same time. Yeah, that like does a bunch of shit on screen. Like it'll do like a screen wipe attack that you have to like roll through or something like that.
Yeah.
It was just a lot going on.
Yeah, it doesn't look any different from a like shield that an enemy may have, like an energy shield that an enemy may have, or this, that, and the third. There's a lot of effects, whether it's bleed, fire, poison, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on long. It just turns into, I'm going to steal a turn of phrase from the YouTube channel Girlfriend Reviews, who used this. Who used this in their review. I'm going to steal it. I don't like stealing things from other people, but I'll steal this one. It just turns into diarrhea Christmas lights, where it's just, there's so much happening, so many colors, so many sounds and doodads, to where it's just like, I don't know what's happening on screen. Most of the time when I died, I didn't know why I died. And if I ever got hit, it didn't read or register that I did get hit. And so, there were many combat encounters where I don't know if I did well or not, but I got to the other side of it, and
that Girlfriend review that you're talking about. Do you know what they played on?
So I don't think it was for the Dead Cells review specifically. I think that term originated from the Nier Automata review.
I think it came from the Dead Cells review.
Was it? I thought it was Nier Automata.
Yeah, because I was watching at the beginning of that. I saw the first upload of that channel happen because it went super viral and stuff. So yeah.
Well, my point is I guess PC is the superior way to play it because I never had that problem.
No, that's not why.
Yeah, I know. But I never had that problem.
You just
I always
didn't have this problem.
I have more instances of like Elden Ring or a Souls game causing me to die and me going, how did I get hit there? Than this game ever had any kind of verbal or visual stuff to prevent me from seeing what's going on.
That definitely happened. I mean, that happens in every game, right? But I feel it so much more in this one than I do any other video game in the genre or of just games that are punishing, you know? And then to add that to your comment about PC, I played it on Switch. This game does not run the best on Switch. I'm not going to say it runs bad, but there are definitely moments the loading screens take forever, which takes you out of the moment and the momentum of a run, and make it to where I don't, any reason you can give me to pick up my phone, I'm going to pick up my phone, because I'm of this generation. But
Degenerate.
on top of that, if ever there becomes a lot of things happening on screen, the game chugs, and sometimes like it doesn't like slow down frames, it skips frames. So like a frame will get paused and then like I'll lose 2 or 3 frames and then it'll jump ahead to catch up. And so sometimes I get hit and there's legitimately no way for me to know how I got hit because the game broke.
Damn.
I believe there was also a number of glitches and clipping that I came across. Nothing too major though. There's never a moment that sticks out in my mind. I mostly just remember screen chugging and long loading screens. So the game does. I'll just put it out there. The game does not run superbly on Switch. Is that the game's fault? I don't think so because the game didn't launch on Switch, launch exclusively to Switch rather. I played it originally on Switch. I played it on Switch this time around, and this time around I definitely felt where the Switch was holding the game back.
You experienced anything like that, Phil?
Slowdown? No, not really on PS5.
Either me.
The only issue I really ran into, I think I talked about it on Piggy Bank, where I was trying to do the Castlevania DLC, and I got stuck on a loading screen for like 15 minutes.
Yeah. So, but again, for the most part, the game runs fine or even good, And it plays well. I don't think it's a very detailed combat system, and I don't think the combat system has long legs to it, but it plays well. I would like to compliment the boss design because I'm sure it's good, but I just breezed through every fight every single time that I never really learned the characteristics of each individual fight. I know the first fight very well, and I know the last fight pretty well. But I know there's fights I never saw because I never went down those paths. And I never made it to the end of levels like the bank. I never made it to the end of the bank because the bank is hard as fuck. And then I know the second boss is usually like the guy in the clock tower with he's got little like ninja stars. Is it a woman?
It is.
Oh yeah,
cool.
Come on, man.
Was it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Because every time I played I fucking demolished that fight. So I didn't really learn anything from those fights, So yeah, I wish it was challenging. Of course, you can make the game harder. Increasing damage and decreasing the amount of damage given isn't enough for me.
The problem is that the bosses themselves, I don't think you can really do much in that regard to make it better because they are just pretty generic bosses. They aren't really. I had more problems sometimes with elite enemies than I did with bosses.
And they telegraph their moves heavy. Yeah.
I only died once to one boss. It was the final boss. Other than that, I just didn't have
I died 2 bosses in the boss rush mode, which was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. There's a lot of like really little fun bonus things that you can explore and find out about. Like there's daily challenges that are cool that you run through levels and do cool daily challenges and so forth. There's a cool boss rush mode. There's more on top of that, but those are the ones I can think of on top. Yeah, again, the overall package is quite good, really well put together. I just don't think this game is as impactful as other ones we've played on the show.
I would agree.
That means I think it's time to rank it.
I agree, Connor. I believe it is indeed time to rank it. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, we play games every month. And when we play these games, we rank them amongst the other games on the show. I just realized I fucked this up the way I wanted to present it, and I also don't know how it looks. I'm going to change. No, I'm not going to change. I didn't set it up the way I should have. Prize thing, but I'm gonna this. All right. So I hope this reads well on screen. Remember, you can catch us youtube.com/@TwoPennyGames. Stick with us, guys. We're trying our best here. Yeah, that reads fairly well. It might be backwards, though. So the list is as follows. Every game we've played so far, we have number 24, Fable. Number 23, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. Number 22, Prey. Number 21, Tomb Raider. Number 20, Batman Arkham Asylum. Number 19, Uncharted Drake's Fortune. Number 18, Halo Combat Evolved. Number 17, Shadow of the Colossus. That now feels too low. I don't know why. But, when I compare it to the other games, never mind.
Yeah.
Beside the point. Number 16, Mario 64.
Immediately cancels that.
Yeah, Mario 64. Number 15, Resident Evil 4. Number 14, Portal 1. Number 13, Pokemon Soul Silver. Number 12, Severed. Number 11, Resident Evil HD. Number 10, Chrono Trigger. Number 9, Dishonored. Number 8, Metal Gear Solid. Number 7, Shovel Knight. Number 6, Portal 2. Number 5, Yakuza 0. Number 4, Hades. Number 3, Final Fantasy 7. Number 2, The Last of Us. And number 1, God of War Ragnarok.
It's wild that after all this time, we've only had one direct sequel.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've played a sequel before we started the rule of we're playing games in order. But yeah,
Sure.
That's gonna change soon. Anyways, gentlemen, Philip, I'm gonna actually jump to you, of course. Where
Me
would you
first?
like to start the bidding of where in the list Dead Cells goes?
It's a great question. I think I'm going to put this at the new number 18.
Damn.
Wow! Above Halo Combat Evolved, below Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah.
Wow. Can you expound on that?
Yeah.
Mainly just because I was looking through the list. I thought I knew before going in, but I've kind of lost the plot on exactly my thinking as to why. Beforehand, I should say. But I was kind of just looking through all these games, and I kind of just found myself pushing it further down and further down and further down and further down until I got to number 18, and I was kind of like, yeah, that just seems like a suitable place because I think back to just how dated Halo felt to play. And I also think of Shadow of the Colossus and just how incredible granted we talked about how it's an incredible art piece, not that much of a game. But I think the parts of Shadow of the Colossus that are so good outshine the pieces of Dead Cells in my eyes.
Wow.
That's surprising.
Very well said.
Shadow of the Colossus just kind of is somewhat of a slog at points to get through. It's got great visuals, but great music, great atmosphere, but the gameplay isn't as tight as something like Dead Cells. I'm surprised you think it's worse.
Well, Connor, I'm gonna jump to you then. Where would you put this game on the list?
We had a conversation.
We did, but it's been a while since we talked.
It has.
Yeah.
It's been a while. Here's where I was originally going to put it, is a classic filter situation of it being below Resident Evil.
Yeah.
But we conversed, and you did kind of make an argument for Severed being above it.
Yeah.
And I thought, and I said to myself, Severed has such a fun, simple gameplay system that allows you to do it really quickly on the go because you can play it on your phone. It's got a pretty, interesting story and interesting world that at least kept me interested. It kept me entertained and looking forward to what they're going to do with all of your dead family members. And so I kind of put that, I think Severed's better. And so the conversation then went where you were arguing that Pokemon Soul Silver, is it above it or below it? And you kind of were leaning towards...
Well, don't spoil my thing here.
I'm not pointing to... yeah, I spoiled. Never mind. Too late. Point is, you could have changed.
Yeah.
And I was going to put it above Pokemon Soul Silver. No, it's not really. They're both good games, but both of them exist in their own space, in their own genre. roguelites, as they're called, and JRPGs, I think as well is a good thing to classify Pokemon as. Both of them, while they do their genres justice, both are very cookie cutter with them, and they don't really, stand out amongst the crowd.
Okay, Pokemon Soul Silver, you play 16 different. You can play 16 different badges. It's 2 regions in that game. Come on,
it's the same fucking combat thing every time.
It is, which is
stands above the rest, though.
It is the same combat system, which, like I said, is pretty, cookie cutter. Very, very cookie cutter as far as JRPGs go.
It's a baby's first RPG.
Yeah.
It's allowed to be cookie cutter.
But
this is
yeah,
it stands above the rest of the baby's first RPG.
But it does. but if you compare it to other turn-based RPGs of its era, it falls short.
Yeah, which is the key issue with it. If it was early, I'd be able to okay, that's fine. I can work around it. But there was already so many other games that did it better.
Yeah,
that you can't really. And with there's having such a simple gameplay system, you kind of don't have the excuse of it being an older game, which is not even super
Fine,
old.
I concede. Put it at the new number 14. I get it.
Well, you didn't let me finish. Oh wait, what did you?
Just continue, please.
Point is, though, you're right. Soul Silver does have something to rope you in further. A whole second region, which I respect when games open themselves up like that after the base game concludes. Not to mention, when I hop back in it, I think I said this during the review, after not playing it for a couple weeks, I kind of was, I had the wind taken out of my sails. I didn't really want to play it that much. Pokemon Soul Silver, I know if I jump back into that, I'd look at that next region and go, time to go on a little journey. And I know it's going to have a good climax. And it's fun. Pokemon is popular for a reason. They're you like the Pokemon themselves. They're cute and whatnot. But they also function well enough in the gameplay that they're provided, even though it is cookie cutter. And so for those reasons, I'd put it at the new number 14. Above Portal, below Pokemon Soul Silver.
Excellent.
Yeah. I didn't have to disappoint you, Phil.
No, I'm not disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that leads it to me.
It does.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing. Connor, I was a lot like you, where when I started my playthrough, I was very high on Dead Cells, but the more I kept playing it, did keep falling. And I was like you in that the Resident Evil was the hard stop, because I think I've said it before, that's a tier switch.
Yes.
And I just don't think it goes in that tier. And so it was fighting Severed for a long time. And the more I kept playing, just by its nature of just kind of being a little longer and, more wanting you to replay more, and how early I finished my first run and how little I felt like playing past that, even though I did, it fell below Severed for me. And then I was looking at the list a little harder, and I was more impressed with what Pokemon did than what Severed did. So it fell below Pokemon. And that's where I was going to stop for a while. But then I put the game down for like a week, went and played other shit, and I didn't think about it again until I was like, oh shit, we got a review in a couple of days. I should pick it up and play more. And yeah, I was not very entertained when I kept playing and kept playing and kept playing. Like its fuse burns out quickly. But it doesn't know when to say, hey, player, stop. Hades knows when to tell you to stop. Mm-hmm. For example. So it's not like the genre is holding it back. Of course, this game has a stopping point, but I don't want to get to that point. Like, you overstay your welcome, Dead Cells.
Yeah.
And because of that,
below Portal.
I think it's at least below Portal. But now Phil has made an excellent argument where Shadow of the Colossus left such a greater impact on me than what Dead Cells did. And while I don't think I feel weird about putting it below Resident Evil 4 and Mario 64 because I genuinely enjoyed Dead Cells more, but I can fall back on my laurels of Resident Evil 4 and Mario 64 are way more important than Dead Cells is. And that's no offense to Dead Cells. Dead Cells is a good, even really good game. But I think where I would stop at Portal, in terms of my personal favoritism of the games, I like Dead Cells more than the games below it. I think at least the next 3 games, and arguably maybe even Halo, are more important than this game. So I'm gonna stop the buck with Phil. Phil's convinced me, and I'm gonna put this game. I'm gonna cast my vote right with him at the new number 18, above Halo Combat Evolved and below Shadow of the Colossus.
Damn. If I cared more about this game, I'd argue more. But yeah,
it's like
I just think it's because I made some good points.
You did. You made some good points.
No, you made horrible ones. Absolutely. I remember listening to what you were saying and thinking, I got to move as far away from Phil as possible.
Oh yeah, Phil might get canceled after this show. You know,
I wouldn't go that far.
Bring it on, bring it on. But yeah, no, Phil, I'm right there with you. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it there, and that's where it shall lie. Dead Cells is the new number 18, above Halo Combat Evolved, below Shadow of the Colossus. What I'm nervous about is in another month or two, we'll look back and go, why did we put Dead Cells so low? But I kind of feel like
I don't think that's gonna happen.
Had I put it above Portal or above Pokemon or above Severed, I feel like it would have been the opposite of like, why did we put Dead Cells so high? Yeah, why is that game so high? So I think in this case, playing it safe and casting it low, again, good game. Really good game. But I just don't think that's where Dead Cells deserves to be.
So you were talking about tiers earlier.
Yeah.
Resident Evil, definitive. I don't know if you agree with this, Phil. I think it's definitive, like, hey, this is A tier.
A tier and up, yeah.
Which, you see S tier start somewhere?
For me personally, I would put that at the top of B tier, but I understand where you guys are coming from.
Yeah.
I know it's not, to me, it's not a bad game by any means. Me personally, y'all are gonna think this is weird. I don't think there's a bad game on this list.
No, we've said that before. So far, I still don't think we've encountered a bad game. I think.
Fine, yeah. Arkham Asylum was not a bad game.
To break it up, to me, Portal 2 is S tier, but Yakuza 0 is A tier. So I'm going to say S tier starts at Hades for me. But it's
I would agree with that. Yakuza 0, I think for me is top of A tier, and I think Portal 2, I would still say is below it.
I think B tier starts at 12 with Severed. And ends at Halo. I think Halo is the bottom of B tier.
Not top of C tier? That's where I thought we were leaning.
I'd put it at bottom. I think Uncharted is top of C tier.
I'm fine with. I would put Halo higher than like Shadow and Mario. But
are you putting Shadow of the Colossus in C tier?
No. My point is
that would be fucking wild to me.
No, yeah, I'm saying that's.
I'm kind of with what Tavin was saying, and like Halo is the bottom of B tier, Uncharted is the top of C.
Yeah, I'd give it that. Yeah.
And then I think the rest of the list.
I'm putting Arkham Asylum like in middle of B tier, but like that's just not how the list is laid out, you know.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. No, yeah, I think Arkham Asylum is a C tier game. But I think from there the rest of the list is C, except for Fable. I think Fable is the first and currently only D tier game.
D tier, yeah, I agree.
But we haven't had an F tier. You know, we haven't had a don't play this game.
Well, Arkham Asylum.
Shut the fuck up. No, it's not.
D tier. I said D tier.
Even like D tier, I wouldn't like drive someone away from D tier. I would just say, play it if you want, but you know, it's not my favorite thing in the world.
But if someone told me they were gonna play Fable, my first question would be why?
Yeah, I'd be like, really? But if they gave me like a reason, I'd be like, all right, yeah, sure, if you want.
I'd just say play Fable 2.
Would you? Because I don't think that game's going to be much better.
God, you guys
honestly do not think so.
Very different game, I will say. Like, you think they're similar in terms of how they play? They really aren't.
I remember Fable 3 playing a lot like Fable 1.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, a little bit different. Like, magic is treated differently, and ranged attacks are treated differently.
I was a lot younger, but I remember enjoying my time with Fable 3.
Yeah, I do too. But again, I was a lot younger, so I don't know for sure. And I also got Fable 3 for free, so free means a lot more when you're 12 years old.
Games with gold, baby.
That
was the first one.
I would probably call Prey a D tier game, but I wouldn't call Donkey Kong that. But again, I want Donkey Kong higher. You know, it's like a weird thing where like I just have to pick and choose where I'm drawing lines. You know.
Yeah.
So. Because, again, like, there are games that I just feel differently about for different reasons. I think Shadow of the Colossus probably should be higher, but I have more fun with Resident Evil 4. So, there you go.
Yeah.
Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the ranking. How would you gentlemen feel about it? Might make the ranking list a little too busy, so maybe we just kind of, like, just continue it as a conversation. But I kind of almost felt like drawing a little line and putting a little letter next to it to, like, maybe when the list gets longer and it takes too long to read it, then we start breaking it up into tiers.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I think when we start hitting like the 30s, you know,
that's exactly where I was thinking. So yeah, maybe right there is where we start putting official thoughts on that. But ladies and gentlemen, you kind of know where we're feeling in the future. Moving on to what we are playing for this next month, the month of July into August.
The month of Connor.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Month
of course,
Connor, baby.
normally we allow the wheel, the sacred wheel, to select the game that we are playing. But we wanted a little bit more agency in what we are playing so that we could get to some of the classic titles that we all love. For example, last month we played Metal Gear Solid because it was my choice. It was my time to choose. So what we do is we alternate now between 1 month is the wheel, the next month is one of us, and it's a rotating cast member on who gets to choose. We go in the order of Connor, Phil, Tavin. Of course, last month I picked Metal Gear Solid. This month, the wheel picked Dead Cells. So now we are back to you, Connor, and you've been keeping it quite a mystery. I still don't know what. Even your roommate, Phil, we have talked about it. I've been trying to convince him to play one game or another, so I'm very curious. Phil, for shits and giggles, just so you're operating with the same amount of information I am, he did a little slip up the other day. I know it's not a Soulsborne game that we're playing. I know that much. But you want to do a little guess on what he's going to have us play?
Both of you do,
Well-
because this is going to be secret from now on.
I have a pretty good guess because it's what he originally wanted us to play in January. And that's near Replicant.
I don't think it's near Replicant. I think I had one in my head and I kind of forgotten it, so I'm going to lean to Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines.
Well, this month, we don't really have any games we're reviewing. It's pretty open.
I mean, you're reviewing Shadow of the Erdtree next week.
Yeah, but that's almost done.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're like almost done with that. So
Yeah.
In July's, other than that,
I don't think I have
any
any
games.
I don't think there's
at all.
anything interesting for me coming out until August.
let me take a look at the calendar here.
Well, we don't have to talk about the calendar, but I think Concord is the next game I'm interested in playing. And even that's like I
A
don't know.
demo,
Yeah.
Yeah. it's not the whole thing.
But
or like
Connor,
a beta rather.
So, since it's pretty empty, I think it's an easy time to be able to play.
I want to stop you. I'm changing my vote to Final Fantasy VI. Go.
Fair enough. It's easy to play a long game.
Yeah.
It's the best time. And so, for that reason,
Yeah.
the game of the month that
Ah,
you guys are
shit.
going to have to play
Where the fuck are we going?
is
Uh-huh.
Dark Messiah of Might and Magic. A short game because I want to use this month to try and catch up on things. Play as many other games as possible. Some from this year, some from later. 12, 14-hour game. Easy done. And then we can do what we want for the rest of the month.
All right. What is the name of the game?
Dark Messiah of Might and Magic.
Dark Messiah of
Yes.
Might and Magic.
The reason I chose this game, other than being just a fun game, I think you'll both have fun with it. I guess 3 reasons. It has something that you can choose to do in this game that is better than almost any other choice that is offered in video games. You'll know what it is later. The final, more objective reason is this is a game that served, at least from my experience, they might have made a game earlier that shaped the kind of games this company would go on to make in the future, which is Arcane. This is an old Arcane game. And after you play
Ooh.
it, you guys will see, like, okay,
Rest
this
in
is
peace,
when they
Arcane
were...
Austin.
Yes, very much so. But
Yeah.
this is a good game where you can start to kind of see when Arcane was becoming Arcane as we know it. So-
It is currently on sale on
Yes.
Steam for $2.49.
And unfortunately, you are not getting the deal I got of buying it at 99 cents.
I don't
But it's good enough.
Any other platforms that's on?
Nope.
Steam and Xbox 360.
That's not going to do it for me. All right. Steam it is.
Yep.
Very well. Ladies and gentlemen, play along with us. Let us know how you felt about Dead Cells and the list in general down in the comments below. And then make sure you do your homework and play alongside with us for the next month. Dark Messiah of Might and Magic. Ugh, too many words. It's
Too long of a name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very long.
I'm going to have to figure out how to shorten that. It's a fit in the list. But until next time, have a great time. Thank you so much for watching along with us. And gentlemen, say goodbye to the people.
Bye.
Bye.